All right, so I'm going to call to order the Board of Selectmen meeting for Friday, April 19th at 10 a.m. I have late cam taping. It doesn't look like anybody else is taping the meeting. So the first item on our agenda is to discuss and vote on the appointment of the new town administrator. So certainly we all sat here, not here because this is a different venue, but we sat in the library a week ago and had some fantastic interviews that were brought to us and great candidates. And Sharon, thank you for being here and representing Community Paradigm. I think we all are, I don't want to speak for the board, but certainly impressed with the candidates that you brought forward to us and the variety of candidates that we have, and they're each unique and they're each different and they each bring different skill sets, I think, to the table, which, I'm happy to have the conversation with the board today. We asked the department heads to give us feedback on the resumes, really, because we ended up, unfortunately, not having the interviews taped, so we really couldn't get the personality side of the equation to the department heads to be able to have those conversations. We had a couple department heads that were here and present, so those individuals certainly gave their feedback as well based upon the interviews that happened. And, the goal was really, as John had suggested, and I think was a great idea that we all agreed on, was to make sure that the people who the town administrator is going to be working with directly have an opportunity to give us feedback during this process. So, over the past week, I know I spoke to a number of different department heads, received feedback in a number of different ways, and I think that probably the board members did the same. And so I'm happy to open it up to the board to have, conversation about what we want to do as our next steps for the next town administrator here in Lakeville.
I'll go first, but not first finally, but I had said that at the last meeting that I would go and certainly poll the people that were, the managers that were in attendance here, which was not a lot. And so being unhelpful, it was a split vote, although there was an odd number of people here. Some people choose not to give a final opinion. So those that gave an opinion were evenly split between Maureen Candido and Lisa Green. So they did not help me in my process where I would say, oh, it was 4-2 or some other number. So it was an even split on that. So that's part of what I did. I certainly talked to certain managers or listened to anyone that chose to reach out. I certainly did not talk to everyone, only those that chose to, and then I called some. And I have to say that there was really not a lot of direction there. It was not kind of a gray area. It was either black and white. I liked the person because of this or that. But the people that were in attendance were evenly split. So that's I'm just reporting back that for a further discussion. So they didn't help in the process.
Right. Yeah.
So, next.
Yeah, Leah?
I reached out to a lot of people, same thing, called me. For me, one of the biggest criteria is experience. And I found that to be the case with, I might say, 55% of the people I spoke with. It's not, complete, one way or the other. But those who expressed, the desire for someone to have municipal experience were really passionate about it. So that's one thing that's kind of important to me. And I tried not to, persuade anyone that I spoke with in either direction. But I think that's one thing that is important to me going forward. I do have to say, too, that, I understand, the problem with the filming that day, the taping, but a lot of folks expressed their disappointment in that, so I'm kind of bummed out that we weren't able to air the interviews, because I think it was a very important position. And, I new to the Board of Selectmen. I'm not huge on social media, but one thing that if I've ever posted anything on social media, it's be informed, get the information for yourself. Don't listen to whatever, someone else is going to tell you. Lake Cam is a huge source, so I almost feel like it's up to us to give people the information, and in this particular case, they're not exactly the ones that are selecting, but when they see how we vote compared to the people that were interviewed, then it gives them a sense of how we feel. And I feel as though we sort of took that away from people by not. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to only stand up in defense of Lake Cam, just from the simple fact that, town meetings, as we all know, in town government, they're posted meetings, anybody can attend, they're open meetings, and I have been a huge advocate of government not forcing themselves upon the people. People choose to either participate in government or they don't.
I
so
agree.
I think just from that perspective, but I think, and it was an unfortunate instance that happened, and I don't blame Lake Cam for that at all. People had the opportunity to be here. I think Lake Cam only adds to our layer of government in allowing us to be more transparent than we already are through the bylaws that we already have and what we're governed by with the open meeting law.
Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, sure. And you know what? I guess it is the transparency that, I think people were, and it's an accident. It happens. I mean, it's just, So there was a lot of disappointment. We say to people, be informed. Well, they know they can rely on Lake Cam, and in this instance, it didn't happen. So I just really want to get the point across that townspeople called me and said one of the, interviews. So it's it's definitely,
And I completely understand that. And I think then when I was talking to people, and I think maybe as John alluded to as well, the individuals who are here and present really were able to participate in the whole process. Yep. And I think those are the department heads that I look to in terms of what are their decisions, what are their decision points, how are they making their decision. And I think what it really comes down to is that we have, again, 3 great candidates, and the big difference that I see between all of them is experience, and then we have leadership. And those are the 2 things that we have to determine as a board as to what our priority happens to be with the direction of the town administrator. And I know that that's why we had the conversation related to what do we believe we need out of a town administrator.
Right.
And certainly when I spoke to individuals who weren't able to be present, I asked them that question as well, because I could take and synthesize the information that they gave me with regard to what they really wanted to see in a town administrator, and then translate it back to the interviews that occurred. And that's what I did with the feedback that I had from those who were not present. So that being said, I think that we're really looking again at 3 great candidates. They bring different things to the table. We have, one certainly who has not had direct municipal experience. We have one that has done the role of a town administrator in a town that's much smaller than Lakeville. And we have an individual kind of in the middle here who has participated as an assistant town administrator in a town that's more similar to Lakeville. And so the issue for me really came down to leadership and supervision, and the questions that I was trying to hammer home during the interviews related to being firm and assertive, but in my biggest concern in town hall, we have a morale issue, we have a personnel issue, we have more of that issue that I'm trying to solve with this appointment than I am with somebody, that's bringing experience to the table in another community. And I think that's where my decision is being made. So. And I'm happy to, keep talking about this.
Yeah, actually, I think we need to, because I don't necessarily think that the whole morale issue at Town Hall is just... I think the morale issue at Town Hall has something to do with some unhappiness with what the Board of Selectmen has done in the past. So, and you mentioned transparency, and that's why I even, want to go back to, that's why it was unfortunate. I know we can't change it, but, and we can certainly talk about candidates, but I would be happy to reopen the search and make it right from the beginning. It's not like we're under pressure And I do think we have good candidates, but I feel like we, you know, if we're making a decision today, I could certainly do that.
So, yeah, I mean, I have no desire to reopen a search. What we did was we went out, we hired a search firm specific. We gave criteria related to exactly what we wanted to see in a town administrator. The search generated 5 candidates that went through the screening process. At that point in time, we had 2 of the candidates that ended up taking either a position somewhere else or dropping out of the search. So we were brought with 3 candidates that were initially screened through a third-party search that's a professional organization that knows what they're doing with regard to municipal searches and is very prominent in the New England area in making those searches. They're very experienced in that. When that happened, what happened is that we ended up with 3 candidates. Again, all very highly qualified candidates in different avenues and different characteristics. I do not have any desire to reopen a search, and I'm happy to make a motion to appoint Maureen Candido as the town administrator.
Well, I'll second that if there's any further discussion.
Yep,
Right.
yep, we can have discussion.
Yeah, I do want to have discussion on that. But you can go ahead and, I can go last.
No,
No, I'm happy to hear what John has to say.
no, I mean, there's certainly the 2 avenues as far as, I mean, I always solicit, whether it be the attorneys or the supervisors, and say, what do you think? I make my own decision. So I would not open the search committee. I'd belly up to the bar and make the decision. That's what I would do. And so I'm ready to do that today, in the next few minutes. So I'm not going to open it. The people that were here, even the people that weren't here, it was a split. So with a 50-50 split, you don't win anyways. And so this isn't a popularity contest of selectmen. So, and not that you said that, but we belly up to the bar, make our decisions, and live by them. So I'm okay with that. All the other stuff's unfortunate. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're making the motion to nominate her, then I guess it warrants some conversation. It's now been 7 days. And the one thing that I keep thinking about when I think about her interview is the fact that I felt as though I was sitting listening to a consultant telling me how to be a leader. I didn't feel like I was listening to a leader. I felt as though someone was telling me how to be a leader. And I just cannot get out of my mind the Venn diagram example about that Maureen offered, that you have people here, and the people in the middle. The people here will always work for you, no matter what, incentive or not. The people in the middle are the people you can work with to either help them, whatever, get better, move them up, whatever. But there's a group of people that you'll never be able to reach. And she said that she felt as though it was her job to get those people to either move on, but not really, she knew she would never be able to work with anyone. I don't know. Town Hall isn't corporate America. We have a lot of local folks that work at Town Hall, and I don't want to put anybody in that category. So I'm really not happy to work with a person who thinks that that's the way you run Town Hall. That just, to me, is not, I don't care how good of a leader she is, but telling me that there's a group of people that she would be willing to just talk to them so that they could find another job, that, you know, that's just a little too whimsical for this seriousness of a position. And if that's the whimsical attitude, then I can't work with a person like that.
Well, I'm not so sure that Adam Wilson didn't say the same thing. Maybe he didn't use an example. He said that he was more than happy to help people find the door.
Right.
That we're not.
Right, but he's not the person we're talking about right now, too.
Oh, no, but he said the same thing. He didn't give the example. He gave the example. He's happy to show people the door.
Right.
And so if someone's not doing their task, I don't care how long they've been on the job, the door is always open to go to another town or go to wherever.
Right.
Because,
Plus, you know, when
because
someone...
the tainted apple always brings down the rest of them. So,
Right.
I thought Adam said the same thing.
Right, and I mean, and that, everybody has a different leadership style.
Right.
In how they approach things. And what I'm looking for is a similar leadership style. I mean, I have sat down, I have let people go, I have made difficult decisions. And that's the type of person that I think will bring this town forward in a way that can work together with individuals and work with them. I think the impression from that visual, which certainly is still in my mind, is more related to the fact that you're trying to work with the people that have lost their way in terms of working in the organization and for the mission of the organization. I think the issue is that without strong leadership, then there is no direction. And the direction isn't, everybody's not pointed in the same direction. And that's really the issue. And if you have some people that are very content to just do their job and kind of keep doing the job that they're doing, I think the point of the conversation was really to determine whether or not those people are really happy in their job. And if they're not, try to talk to them about that and not try to force a round peg into a square hole, even though I think if you did it that way, it probably would fit. So a square peg into a round hole. You know, and that's really the impression that I got from that. And those are the characteristics of leadership that I'm looking for this town administrator.
I also have another real big issue with that particular candidate, and that is that she is really good friends with someone on the board. And
which I disclosed completely and talked to town
Right.
council about that too.
Absolutely, but that doesn't mean that you're still not going to be working with a friend of yours. So if, let's say, we have a problem with her, I know you're professional, I know everything, but these personal relationships do get in the way of doing business sometimes, and I'm not really sure that that's, you know, we're talking about transparency here. We don't want the people of the town to say, oh, well, that's her friend. I mean...
In a small town, that's always going to happen. When individuals live in the same town, you interact with them in different ways. I went to town council directly, and I asked town council, when I knew that this was a candidate that came through in the screening process, that there's a candidate that I am friends with.
Right, and I'm not questioning whether you did the right thing or not. I'm questioning the working relationship going forward. That's what I'm questioning. I'm questioning...
The only issue would happen would be disciplinary actions, and there's 2 members of the board that could handle those if we needed to. I have recused myself from any and all circumstances where I have had any sort of a conflict. I have disclosed everything through town council in any instance, and anybody who would imply that there's something else going on with that, I have no tolerance for. And again, that probably is more related to my aspects of leadership and what I would like to see in a town administrator. I'm not going to be here forever as a
Right.
selectman.
None of
in
us
this
are
town.
forever.
The town administrator will be. Yeah, John will be here forever.
I'm almost there.
Well, I'm not so sure the town administrator will be. Whoever comes in can leave at any moment that they want to.
They can
so,
too. Right. They need to
you
be
know.
a good fit, and that's an important
Right,
thing
and
too.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Maureen is a good fit.
Okay.
I personally felt that Lisa Green was a better fit for our town. You know, that's who I feel was a better fit, but...
So I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
All right. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, and thank you for staying.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any new business, old business? I think we're going to move that to the next meeting as opposed to now. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a 6-minute break.